When you love someone, you've got to trust them. There's no other way. And for a while, I believed that's the kind of love I had.
That's hot. Okay, hello everyone, welcome back. I want to do a little follow-up story to what we spoke about a couple of days ago regarding to the refund policy and the refunds going on with Cyberpunk 2077. I'm sure you guys are still thoroughly enjoying Cyberpunk, especially on console, and all the stuff that you can do in Cyberpunk.
This is my Italian confidential secretary. Her name is Alata. Alata for China.
Come again.
Now, in the last video I covered, it was about Sony actually giving a few people refunds. Then CD Projekt Red went to Twitter and actually formally said, yes, you can request refunds if you want. Since then, Sony has not been so forthcoming. They're not actually loving the idea of giving a lot of people refunds, and the community is pissed. All this and more after the drop. Now, it's been about 4 or 5, maybe even 6 days since Cyberpunk actually came out. As I said, there's a lot that's been going on. We saw the Metacritic score, especially for consoles, come in extremely low, lower than I would have ever expected for Cyberpunk 2077. But here it is, of course. And on top of that, we also saw IGN come out with their console review for Cyberpunk 2077, and that was bad. 4. And as we know, if a media publication gives something like a 7 or a 6, that's bad game. If it gives it 4 out of 10, my god, that is just tragic. And while this was all happening, CD Projekt Red went to Twitter about 48 hours ago to say a big statement in that beautiful yellow that we've all seen before, because it's usually for delays, but this time it was to actually explain themselves. But just to sum it up, it was ultimately apologizing for the release of the game, especially on base consoles, promising fixes with 2 major patches coming in the coming months, and offering refunds to people who didn't feel they got the game they wished for.
Come again.
Now, what was also important in this article when it spoke about refunds is it referred to the PSN, PlayStation Network, and the Xbox Marketplace as a place that you could get your refunds. Now, the big problem with this, it seems, is there's no actual agreement, pointed out in the article, between CD Projekt Red, Xbox, or Sony for people to secure these refunds without the normal barriers that you would expect when trying to get a digital refund on these platforms. Now, one conversation that is doing the rounds on Twitter and Reddit is actually showing a PlayStation representative and a consumer trying to get that refund, and the consumer having actually no luck with that refund process, with the representative citing he had already tried to get a refund and that there are 2 major patches coming and they could not help him because he did not qualify for a refund. That's after this customer had said that CD Projekt Red had in fact said that yes, he can get a refund. It didn't matter. And on top of this, there are multiple other conversations just like this one popping up on Reddit and Twitter, pretty much with a lot of people getting no luck whatsoever with getting this refund.
Give me your fucking money!
This is for the players! This is PS4!
And I don't know about you guys, but I'm totally fine with the idea of having to wait 2 or 3 months to get an actually playable experience when I've already paid full price for a game. That seems totally fair, Sony.
You're mocking me, aren't you?
Oh, no. Look, an alien! Where?
And to me, at least on the surface level, it just looks like CD Projekt Red has gone into some frantic panic and is trying to now make promises to the consumer that it actually can't make. This was obviously meant to be some goodwill gesture from CD Projekt Red, but it's blown up in their face because they didn't actually include the major console manufacturers in this decision, and now they've come out with some grandiose statement, and it's kind of left them in a position where it's blown up even bigger now for them. But it's important to mention that Sony's also copped some flack for this too, and rightfully should. But on top of all of this, CD Projekt Red actually held an emergency board meeting, which went for about 50 minutes, trying to answer questions and start with a blanket statement to try and squash any concerns or answer some big questions that could hopefully give some confidence back into the market. The entire conversation is actually in the public domain. You can go and listen to it as I did. The article continues to go on to say that during this emergency board meeting, CD Projekt Red SVP of Business Development, Mikhail Nowakowski, clarified that refunds for Cyberpunk 2077 are dependent on the existing refund policies in place for PSN and Xbox customers. In his words, one has to understand Microsoft and Sony have refund policies for every product that is released digitally on their storefronts. Despite several articles I've seen that things are being set up just for us, it's actually not true. These policies are in place and have always been in place. They're not offered specifically for us. So I guess it just comes down to the individual storefront's fine print in terms of refund policies. This is the fine print for Sony's refund policies. Customers have 14 days from purchase to request a refund, given that they have not started downloading or streaming the purchased game. If the download started or players streamed the game, then they are not eligible for a refund unless the content is faulty. Unless the content is faulty. Ooh, that's a trick question. Trick question, is Cyberpunk 2077 a faulty product for base consoles?
And landscape technology. It allows us to have 16 times the detail.
If the mountain of evidence on YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, the internet in general, the amount of videos surfacing every day showing these horrendous bugs, constant crashes, unplayable for a lot of people, especially on base consoles. I mean, how much evidence do we really need to gather before we can call this game, at least on base consoles, unplayable or not satisfactory to what a normal release should be? And in my opinion, this is in fact a faulty product. Now, Sony obviously doesn't want to be opening the floodgates here for refunds, because it's not just CD Projekt Red that's going to bear the brunt of those refunds, it's also Sony. Sony takes about 30% for each game, digitally especially. I'm sure Sony thought they were going to make a hell of a lot of money out of Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm sure they have. I'm sure they don't love the idea of having to give some of that money back. But come on, Sony, I think you'll be okay if a few people want to get the odd refund for a game that is actually not working for a lot of people on base consoles. Perhaps Sony is worried about setting a precedent for other games that come out in the future in a horrendously buggy state and people also want refunds. But I don't see the problem with it, to be honest. If the game is horrendously buggy or not working on base consoles, don't worry about making a precedent. Just give people their money back, because I think you're going to do more harm than good in terms of goodwill. Sure, they might save a bit of money from people not getting their refunds, but the goodwill in general will be a little bit tarnished here. People will continue to push back against Sony on this, and it'll just result in more people getting pissed at Sony. You know, we've seen recently with Nintendo winning that lawsuit in Norway and Germany about their refund policy, further solidifying the difficulty that a lot of customers already have when trying to get a refund on digital storefronts. But we will have to see what happens here. Sony, we're talking about such a small percentage of your actual sales of Cyberpunk 2077, of people that are actually going to get those refunds, compared to the PlayStation 5 people or the PS4 Pro people that are in fact having a pretty decent time with this game. Just give them their money back. Don't be dicks. Alright guys, that is it for today. Love you, appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. We're getting close to the break. We're getting close to Christmas. I will see you guys next time when there's big enough news. If not, I'll see you next year, but I'm pretty sure I will do at least one more video before the end of the year. We will see. Love you, appreciate you. Thank you very much, and have a good night, weekend, evening, wherever you are. Laymen out.
Janie's got a gun.
Tonight,
He's got a gun! Janie's got a gun!